I think we've established that the RAV4 Prime, although a great vehicle on paper, still continues to be a widely unattainable vehicle for so many people around the world. So we're going to dive into what's going on in Japan in regards to Japanese plug-in hybrids and electric vehicles in general. But we have other electric news today coming from GM and their plans to move things up to start electrification early with certain products like the Silverado. So we'll dive into that. And lastly, the Mustang Mach-E finally got some official EPA ranges. Welcome back, Lexurious Fleet. My name's Kirk. If you're new, I talk about automotive news, typically a little bit more Asian focused, but things have been quiet coming out from the East. So we'll talk about what's going on in the West as well a lot today. So Best Car Web, Japanese scoop site, has a ton of information about what is going on with the availability of plug-in hybrids and electric vehicles. Starting with the RAV4 Prime, they are making 300, or they are allocating, I should say, 300 units per month to Japan. There's a 6-month waiting list, assuming you can get your order in. Okay, so if you put your order in December, probably going to be May or June before, at the earliest, where you get your car. There is 4 to 5 times more units being sent to the United States and Europe. Toyota is making the Suzuki Across. It's the same thing as a RAV4 plug-in hybrid, but Suzuki doesn't have any hybrids, or they're not meeting the CAFE standards they need to in Europe. So they've worked out a deal with Toyota to convert some RAV4 Primes into Suzuki. And that is even further diminishing the volume that we see, not only in Japan, they seem to be getting some of the worst end of it. I'm not going to lie. They're getting the bad end, which sucks because it's their home market and they're having to wait 6 months for a unit. At the best case scenario. It's pretty crazy. Now, volume is supposed to increase 4 times over the current volume. That's at least for the United States anyways. Who knows what it's going to be for Japan? It doesn't look like volume's ramping up for Japan for the plug-in hybrid RAV4 next year. At least here in the United States, because of this huge demand and low volume, there's been a lot of price gouging from dealers, a lot of scalping, just ripping people off. I've heard of $10,000 over MSRP just to get a plug-in RAV4 hybrid. I have had a few viewers successfully snag one of these without ridiculous markups, but I know there is some price scalping going on. Next on the list is Lexus UX 300e. Okay, the first ever electric Lexus car. Well, this thing is a complete unicorn. So they made it available in October for Japan. They've only allocated 135 units, which all have been accounted for. They're seeming to do a lottery system for this, and there's no word on when the next batch is going to be available and when the next lottery is going to take place. That car, in my opinion, at least for Japan, is a complete unicorn. I know there's going to be a little bit more volume for Europe and China. They're bigger markets. They have stricter emission standards, and we're never going to see here in the United States. Nor are we going to see the next vehicle on the list, which is a Honda E. If you want a Honda E, at least in Japan, orders have stopped. You can't even place an order for it. They've been doing it in different phases. There's been 2 phases so far. They only allow a certain amount per phase. And the next phase, they don't even know when it's going to start. They're not even telling people when the next phase is going to start for you to even place your order. Let's say you successfully place your order in March, then there's still an additional 4-month wait. So March, April, May, June, July. You're waiting till midsummer at the earliest if you want a Honda E in Japan. The Lexus UX, pretty much forget about it. And the RAV4 plug-in hybrid seems to be widely available compared to those other 2 cars, but pretty much impossible to get. Because at best case scenario, you're waiting 6 months, even if you can put an order in. And I have to mention Mitsubishi before we move on. They just announced the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross plug-in hybrid that shares the same guts essentially as the Outlander plug-in hybrid. Well, apparently there's no issue with waiting times or orders being taken if you want an Eclipse Cross plug-in hybrid in Japan. With that information, that there's no issues with the supply or even orders being taken for the plug-in hybrid Eclipse Cross, I don't know. It just, to me, sounds even more so that Honda, Toyota, Lexus do not want to sell more electric vehicles, and they absolutely have to. I'm sure they'll still blame it on supply. So I don't run into any more audio issues over there on the main setup. I'm going to my second. It's nice to have multiple setups, right? So heading over to automotive news. All right, so new models offer peek into GM's electric future. There's quite a bit of information here. We're still a few years off on the electric pickup truck, on the electric Hummer SUV. We do know that the Hummer pickup truck is coming out next fall with the first edition. And then the second, well, it's not really the second edition, but the lesser expensive models will be following suit every year after that. So if you want the cheaper $80,000 Hummer, you're probably waiting 3 or 4 years from now. Super cheap, right? $80K, holy cow. Some of the bigger takeaways here is the first look of the electric pickup truck from Chevy, or at least the first designs. Now, of course, this is not a production model. This is probably still highly conceptualized, but notice the large missing grille here. Just a big piece of plastic, very Tesla-ish like, with a lot of plastic, a lot of bumper, and not a lot of grille. It's very different. It's going to be very easy to tell the difference from the electric version of this truck compared to the non-electric version, where I feel like the Ford, when they come out the Ford F-150, I think it'll be a little bit more similar to the normal production version with the gasoline and hybrid options. But the Chevy pickup truck will be built starting in 2023, as well as the Cruise Origin and a large Cadillac SUV. How large, I don't know. It'd be cool to see an Escalade on fully electric power. Now, they're expecting 450 miles of range out of this new Chevy pickup truck, and we could possibly see that affect the Hummers as well. I don't know about that. I find that almost hard to believe, but again, this vehicle's several years away. So by the time it comes out, it could have 450 miles of range. How much that would cost? My guess would be well over $100,000 if you want to have 450 miles of range. Heck, even over 300 miles of range, I'm probably expecting starting at $70K for a fully electric Silverado. So not exactly your common man's vehicle. And that's the thing I feel with a lot of these fully electric vehicles. So darn expensive. What good is a $7,500 credit if the vehicle is $115,000? I like the idea of electric vehicles, but we need to make them more affordable. I know Tesla's doing everything they can to do that, especially with them at Battery Day unveiling a cheaper, potentially $25,000 electric vehicle, $30,000 electric vehicle, but we haven't got any closer to that in the last year or two. It seems like $40,000 seems to be the point of entry for fully electric vehicles, even with the Chevy Bolt getting up there in price too. Now, GM does plan to introduce at least 30 EVs globally through 2025, 2/3 of which will be available in North America. It's not going to be hard for them to do. It might sound like a lot of vehicles, so 20 EVs here in North America, but you got to realize this is GM we're talking about. We expect them to take one vehicle and make a Chevy, a GMC, and a Cadillac version of that same vehicle. Just put in different bits and bobs, different pieces, a little bit different technology in terms of screens and layout and materials. And yeah, it shouldn't be hard for them to have 20 different models of EVs through 2025. And lastly, all Mustang Mach-E models top 200 miles between charges. So the base model all-wheel drive gets the worst range, 211 miles. Guys, would you be willing to pay 45, 50 grand for 211 miles of range? And this one's not that fast. 0 to 60, I'll put it up there for you. But to me, the only Mustang Mach-E that I would be interested in buying in is the GT. It's really not that much more expensive than the rest of them. You get supercar performance, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Range isn't extraordinary. I believe it's around 270 miles of range. I do like the looks of the Mach-E. Not keen on the naming of it, taking the Mustang name and putting a coupe name on a electric crossover. It's a little weird. Not my typical coverage talking about GM and Ford EVs today, but I just had to put in that stark contrast from what the Japanese automakers are doing with electrification and what the American automakers are doing with electrification. It seems to be complete opposite. It seems like Nissan is more on board, more in line with the American automakers, focusing on heavy, fully battery electric vehicles, Whereas Honda is contracting GM pretty much to make EVs for them in the next 5 years. And you have Toyota, who's going really hard in hybrids. They really don't even want to make their plug-in hybrids, even though they, in theory, they provide a really good best of all worlds. You get fully electric performance, electric only or battery only range for a while, but you don't have range anxiety at all with a gasoline engine on board. Problem is that they're very complex compared to just a gasoline car or just a fully electric car. You put the complexities of both of them together. So in theory, there could be more issues, but leave it to Toyota for reliability. So I'm not too concerned, but Toyota going hard, even Honda going pretty hard on hybrids, and their fully electric cars are few and far between, and you're lucky to find them. Things will change in the next 5 years for sure. I'm pretty neutral. I see the value in having choice. I know there's a lot of people out there that want to ban all, and even governments, they want to ban all gasoline engines, but you got to realize that's not what everyone wants. And forcing people to only buy fully electric vehicles or fully hybrid or plug-in hybrid vehicles where they just want, some people just want a V8 in their pickup. It's simple, it's reliable, it's dependable. They don't have to worry about some things that they're not familiar with. And those choices are being taken from us and will continue to be taken from us buyers in the coming years. How fast and how intrusive it will be, I don't know. I just like to be in the role I am and be able to talk about it with you guys and see how this all shakes out. Toyota going the conservative route, protecting their margins, I guess, going with mass electrification in terms of hybrids, and a lot of other automakers trying to go full electric, whether it's GM or Volkswagen, and Ford seems to be going down that path more and more. So guys, I'll see you in the comments. A lot of electric talk today. It's always a fun time in the comments with you guys down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. If you made it this far in the video, smash the like button, subscribe if you enjoy my news. I'll stop talking. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. Peace out.